Given all the incredible amount of intellectual horsepower, I want to ask you the question that's been on the mind of a lot of people, particularly in the Salesforce world. This stat is getting tossed around that 95% of AI projects seem to be failing. What's going on, Vernon? What's your perspective on it? And how can Salesforce
Mhm.
customers do better?
Yes, it's probably true. And in our study, we didn't actually find many people outside of a couple of Salesforce reference accounts, namely Equinox. We talked to the Equinox guys. And outside of them, we couldn't find anybody who had gone to production with their product. And we found in that, actually, we found like four main reasons why this is happening, I think. The first one is what we call CEO FOMO. So this is when the board or the CEO or maybe the CIO says, "Hey guys, we got to do AI. We got to get it done. I got to tell the board we're doing AI. I don't care what you do, just get that POC going and I want to see it working." And that never works, basically. So we saw a scramble happening at like a Fortune 100 company where people were doing that. We also saw it happening at smaller companies, more like Fortune 1000 type companies. So that's definitely something that's not good. And then the other thing we noticed is part of that is because of a terrible skills shortage.
Mm.
And there's really at all levels. And you starting from the CEO on down, and you say, what does the CEO need to know about AI? Well, here's one thing CEO needs to know is that we encountered a major deficit in CEO level thinking, which creates something called the inability to attain activation energy on your project. So we talked to a big bank, a national bank that you would know, and they they had very high Salesforce data gravity, meaning that this CIO said, I'd be an idiot not to use Agentforce for this project because all my data lives in Salesforce. So that I think that people are compelled maybe to use Agentforce for a customer CX application, which by the way is the number one application out there is CX. And so he had very high data gravity, did the Agentforce thing, used a great integrator to help him do it. They're ready to go. They're at this activation energy curve, but they can't hit over it because at the very top is governance. And they got stuck there because their governance unit doesn't know how to evaluate. So they're stuck because they need time to understand what's going on before they can turn this thing loose on a customer at a bank.
Wow.
So that's why the CEO needs AI education, is because you need CEO level leadership to get through activation energy. And then we see also skill shortages are rampant. Here's the way I would make the difference between enterprise AI and desktop AI or personal AI that we're all very fun and good at. Enterprise AI involves having a platform where things are programmatically happening. And there's a sequence of things going on, and there's workflow and that kind of stuff. And people don't understand that aspect of AI. And to be taught that is usually by a vendor. So it's Salesforce, Agentforce version of that, or it's AWS Bedrock version of that, or it's Azure, whatever, or Vertex from Google or whatever. And the other thing is that is just what those guys are thinking about today in the wild west of the AI thing growing and everything. So there's no like first principles education going on AI. It's all vendor led. So we see that as a deficit too. The vendors are lying. There's a promise and reality gap. Huge one. Huge one. So like for Salesforce customers, there's a lot of ifs. It's if you do have customer 360, if your data is clean, if you have data cloud, if you know how to use Data Cloud. Then you have what I call enterprise composability, so that you can pull in all the different parts of your enterprise into one context and have that be the thing that is used to do a prompt or an agent or something like that. So if you have all that's 5 Fs all put together, then Agentforce is beautiful. And that's where you hear about all these reference accounts that are starting to work. We could see that. We saw that at Equinox. So it's harsh to say that Force doesn't work because it can. It's just a lot of ifs involved to get the right activation energy.